Hello and welcome to Plot Twisters.
This is a podcast where we take movies and twist the plot to see if we can make them better, and if not, more rock and roll!
At the moment, we're talking about teen movies from the 90s.
On this episode, Detroit Rock City from 1999.
I'm Anders, a boy who lies through his teeth, buys demonic records, and smokes the dope.
I'm Emma. You must have the entire Revlon factory in your purse, you greasy disco ball. I'm fully adopting greasy disco ball as my new preferred insult, I think. What do you think about that?
I mean, it sounds slippery.
And it will kind of confuse people, which I think is what you want to go for when you're being insulting, just to kind of throw them off. You know?
Always keep them guessing, Emma. Always. Especially when you're boogieing down to some disco.
Let's figure out what happened in this film, shall we? So this film is about 4 young lads who are from somewhere near Detroit. Yeah, somewhere near Detroit.
They're somewhere in Michigan.
Right, fine. We have Lex, played by Giuseppe Andrews. We have Trip, played by James DeBello. We have Hawk, played by Edward Furlong. And we have Jam, played by Sam Huntington. I have never heard of any of these actors before. Have you?
Well,
I don't know.
There's one that you will have heard of, or I think you may have heard of. So Edward Furlong, right?
Yes.
He plays John Connor in Terminator 2.
Okay.
Right? See, he's the badass kid from Terminator who knows how to get money out of ATMs and also, helps the titular Terminator stop another Terminator from
terminating.
Yeah, I don't remember what happened exactly. But he's from Terminator 2.
Okay. So him we know. The others not familiar.
No.
It's just strange to kind of venture into this new territory of dealing with actors that we aren't talking about every week over and over again. But
no, but it's fine though. It's fine though because Natasha Lyonne's in this movie.
Oh, thank God.
It's not all new faces.
No, can she be in every movie?
In 1999?
Yes.
Yes, she can.
Yes, she can. So there's these 4 lads. They're teenagers. They're in high school, and you want to know something about these kids?
Oh yeah.
They love the band Kiss
so much. They love Kiss.
They have a tribute act band called Mystery.
I love it.
With the S stylized the same as the S's in Kiss. So that's cool. The band kind of sucks, but it's not really relevant, is it? They have a band. Yeah. And each of them has their own kind of journey in the film. The one that we start with most is Jam.
Yeah.
Who's actually Jeremiah. I think that's a good nickname, Jam. I'm into that. Very rock and roll.
Yeah.
He's got a very kind of controlling and also super religious mother who thinks that rock and roll is the music of the devil and that Kiss are the messengers of Satan.
Well, I mean, she believes that Kiss stands for Knights in Satan's Service.
That's it, yeah.
Which was what people thought, apparently.
So anyway, she really hates this band. She tries to kind of steer her son Jam away from any kind of interest in them. She makes him wear clothes, which I assume it's meant to be that she thinks that they're more kind of proper clothes.
Yeah.
There's a moment he turns up at the school and he's wearing a different outfit and everyone laughs at him. And I was like, it's kind of a nice outfit. That's kind of in right now.
Totally. I'm like, I like that jacket a lot.
Yeah, it's a cool jacket. It's like a cool puffer jacket. But they're all like, oh, what a square. And I was like, okay, all right, fine.
Yep.
They have some Kiss tickets. They're going to see Kiss. It's amazing. It's like the pinnacle of their life. It's very exciting. Mm-hmm. Jam's mum finds the tickets and destroys them. The rest of the movie is these 4 guys then essentially trying to get to the concert in Detroit. Jam goes on his own journey, which is very church focused.
Mm-hmm.
He meets a young lady and they have a romantic experience together in a confessional booth.
Yeah, it's a girl. It's the girl that really liked him from high school, but didn't know how to tell him, and then she decided the best way to tell you how much I like you is to meet is to have carnal knowledge, is to get together in the confessional booth of a church in the middle of Detroit.
So that's his thing. We then have Hawk, who is a guy who looks exactly like the guy from Stranger Things.
Exactly like the guy from Stranger Things.
Exactly like him.
Literally the same.
I was watching it and I was like, I know in my head because of maths that it isn't him, but I am going to surreptitiously consult IMDb to just confirm that it definitely isn't him because it really looks like him.
I wasn't surreptitious. I went, isn't that the guy from Stranger Things? And then I looked on IMDb and it's not the guy from Stranger Things. 100% not. It's not.
Anywho, Hawk ends up in a bar. And he ends up doing a performance which involves him removing his clothes.
Yes.
And he gets some money. I think essentially they're all trying to get the money to buy the tickets back, aren't they?
Yeah.
Lex ends up... What does Lex do? I've forgotten what Lex did. Oh, he tries to break in, doesn't he?
Yeah, he tries to break into the show and he can't. He does all the things, right? It's like, I'll sneak it through the back door. Oh no, the security guard got me. I'll pretend I'm a roadie. That worked for a bit until I dropped the drum and then they kicked me out. And then, of course, he befriends a pack of dogs.
Yeah. So he tries to crash and then doesn't get in. And then we also have Trip, who ends up kind of robbing a store, but he doesn't. He's just about to rob the store, and then somebody else tries to rob the store instead. And then he ends up beating up the guy who was trying to rob the store. And then the woman behind the till is so grateful that she A, kisses him, and B, gives him some money. And then they all convene in the middle and they've got the money for the tickets. And they've all had a romantic encounter with a woman.
Yes.
And then they
can't buy any tickets because there aren't
any tickets. They can't buy any tickets because there aren't any left.
Sold out. And the scalper runs away. And then they go, we got all this money. We don't know. We can't buy Kiss tickets. We're going to miss the gig.
And then one of them goes, let's just beat each other up and say we got mugged and they took our tickets. They've got to let us in. And one of them goes, and then there's this like really fun pause where they kind of go,
all right.
Yeah, okay. And then they all just start punching each other. They turn up at the door. They say, someone mugged us. And they go, oh, really? And then they point in and they go, it was that guy. And there was a guy who earlier... Trip ended up like pissing off.
You talk about Chongo? What do you mean Chongo? Right. Yeah.
So
Chongo.
I should have started with Chongo.
The main character of this movie clearly is Chongo.
This is the story of Chongo. He was in the shop. Trip tried to take tickets off his little brother.
Yep. That was his plan. His plan was, let me go beat up a little kid and take their Kiss tickets. And so he goes, hey, little kid, I'm going to take your tickets. And then he goes, nope, because Chongo, my huge monster brother, is going to kick your ass. And then he does.
And then you see Chongo, he kicks his ass. And the little kid takes his wallet. And then later on, he's like, they beat me up. Look, the kid's got my wallet. Search him. I promise you. The security guard searches him. He's got the wallet and he goes, okay. So he gives them the tickets. Yeah. And they go to the Kiss concert.
Yes.
And that's the story.
Totally.
Oh my gosh.
So do you know anything about Kiss, the band?
So my main experience of Kiss was when I was a teenager, I think like a young teenager, there was a TV show called Rock School.
I think you mean School of Rock.
Well,
that was a movie with Jack Black.
Yeah, no, you think I would, right? No, it was called Rock School, and it was basically like a British reality TV show for kids, starring kids, with Gene Simmons in it as like the host and main judge, in which the competition was to be in a rock band.
What? Oh.
So kind of like School of Rock, it was literally like actual kids kind of auditioning to be in this band, and Gene Simmons was in it. Whoa. And I flipping Loved it. I was so into it. So yeah, that's my main kind of experience of Kiss.
That's cool, man. That's super cool. The first time I heard of Kiss was from the Weezer song "In the Garage."
Uh-huh.
Are you familiar with that song?
In the garage.
In the yeah, in the garage.
I am not familiar. No, sorry.
One of the lines is I've got posters on the wall. My favorite rock group, Kiss. I've got Ace Frehley and I've got Peter Criss waiting there for me. Yes, I do. And I was like, who are these Kissmen you sing of? I've never heard of the Kissmen. But as it happens, like, yeah, the Kiss are like a quite popular, over the top, kind of heavy rock, glam rock sort of. I don't know. There are probably a bunch of different genres.
Experience.
They were like a fun, wild band. Yeah. They wanted to be a little bit like. There was a vibe in the 70s of band members being a little bit androgynous, and so they were sort of like wearing like makeup and dresses, and that was sort of cool. But they didn't quite have their aesthetic yet until they went and saw Alice Cooper perform in New York, and he is famous for wearing a lot of makeup, and he looks so cool and badass. And so apparently, they were like, well, what's better than one Alice Cooper? It's 4 Alice Coopers. So we're all going to wear makeup. So they adopted these names, right? So they were Starchild, the Demon, the Spaceman, and Catman.
Catman! Na, 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 na.
So they started touring as Kiss, and they got this manager, and the manager was like, cool, so you guys are going to wear makeup and leather, and you're all like crazy, and it's a whole thing. And so they he convinced Gene Simmons to start breathing fire, which completely like actually had some effects on his health. But that's cool. And they started like lighting off like smoke bombs and huge lights and fire, and they used to like levitate the drums and stuff, and it was a big, huge thing. That's important to know because Kiss became a band that you go and see, and were famous for their stage show, but their records never felt as good, at least to their fans, as the experience of seeing them live. So people would say you have to see Kiss live, which is, I think, why they made a movie about seeing Kiss live.
Yeah.
Because that was their thing, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay?
That makes sense.
They also did a ton of drugs and bad things, and like had
rockstar stuff.
Did rockstar stuff and smashed stuff and stuff.
Yeah.
And then they broke up for a while, and then they got back together, and you know, people just love Kiss because they're like, they have these anthemic big songs, and they breathe fire and like dress up in crazy costumes. And what's really wild is like they can just walk around because nobody knows what Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, Peter Criss, or Ace Frehley actually look like.
Yeah,
in the real world.
It's like, you know, Sia.
Yeah, you can't see her, right?
I wanna swing from the chandelier. She adopted a stage persona in which she doesn't show her face for that exact reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Anonymity.
Anonymity, baby.
I reckon I would have been so into Kiss if I was the right age for them.
Yeah, I think so.
100%. It's very much my type of thing, like the theatricality of it, the very high octane performance, like just rock and roll anyway. It's so cool, and I really like this era of music.
Emma, what did you like about the movie, and what did you maybe not like about the movie?
Oh yeah, the movie, I forgot.
Yeah, the movie Detroit Rock City.
This wasn't just an episode on Kiss.
No. Sorry, I forgot one more thing.
Oh, one more thing about Kiss.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know why they're called Kiss?
No.
It's not because they're the Knights in Satan service. But they're called Kiss because at first they wanted to call their band
and Marry and Avoid were already taken.
That's funny. And they
Thank you.
So yeah, they couldn't call it the F word, so they decided to call it Kiss instead. Anyway, sorry, what did you like about the movie?
That's really good. Um, I really enjoyed this film.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
It was really good fun. If you're listening to this, you haven't seen the movie and you want just a good time, and it's just kind of dumb. It's just kind of stupid, and it's kind of experiential, and it doesn't make much sense, but it's just really good fun. I would thoroughly recommend it.
Awesome.
The number one thing that I really enjoyed about this film was the kiss show at the end.
That's what they wanted you to like.
Yeah, and so they obviously did a really good job of marketing themselves by making a feature-length film.
Yeah.
Because it was flipping awesome. Like, what they basically did was they shot the gig, and they kind of, the four guys were sort of forgotten at this point. Like, they just stopped being in it as much. They shot the gig, and they mixed up shots of slow-mo with real-time stuff, and it looked amazing. It looked so good, and I was just like, oh my god. And it also was really powerful because you spent the whole movie building up to this, and you knew it was coming. You're like, well, eventually they're gonna go see Kiss, like however it works out, they're gonna go do it. And then they get there, and I was like, oh my goodness, I was so hyped up by the end of that.
That's awesome.
It's such a weird specific thing to pick out, but yeah, I just really enjoyed that.
I think that's great. I know that they recreated the exact stage setup that they had in 1978 for this gig. Because they wear makeup, they could get away with making it look like it was 20 years earlier than the movie was actually made. So yeah, it was very specifically set up to look like an old gig from the 70s.
Yeah, I think that worked. I didn't feel convinced that it was the 70s. I don't know. Like, I think there's something weird about watching a film from 20 years ago that was set 20 years previously, because
totally
you're still conscious that it's the 90s, and particularly stuff like some of the outfits that they were wearing. I was like, this feels very 90s to me, actually.
I agree.
So there was a bit of like a break of the kind of fourth wall of the suspension of disbelief for me there. But but I also didn't care because, whatever. Whatever. So that was cool. I thought it was really funny, actually. And I think there was a few points where I kind of was going into it a bit sort of like skeptical, ready to be offended, A very specific example is the bit where they go into the girls' toilets.
Oh yeah.
And I was on the edge of my seat, and I was like, literally counting down to my injusticed feminist moment. They're in the girls' toilet. They're not supposed to be in there. Right. They all get into a cubicle. They stand on the toilet. Yeah. A girl comes into the loo, and to start with, they're being pretty pervy. They're being pretty disgusting about how they're treating it. But then it has this intense comic escalation, and I was absolutely screaming with laughter by the end of it. It was so funny.
Unexpected. It was great.
Really unexpected. There's a lot of funny stuff in there. I liked the way that they took the four different characters and they all had their own plot, and they kind of met up again at the end. That was fun, and it was just really silly. And it was that same kind of movie that we've come back to a few times, which is just kind of an experience, and it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
How about you?
I remember loving this movie from the 90s. So I was really excited when we were going to do it because it was a movie that I loved. But I also, unlike many of the movies we've done on this podcast, I hadn't seen it since the 90s. So I'm watching it, and at first I was really unsure. So probably the first 20 minutes, like you, I noted that it felt like I knew it was the 90s, even though it was supposed to be the 70s. It didn't convince me the way that like Dazed and Confused convinced me that it was the 70s, right? Yes. Whereas this movie didn't feel authentically placed. It just felt like, they were in bell bottoms, 70s, right? And it was like slapstick in the beginning. There were some weird slapstick moments where he like hits himself in the face with the with the exercise thing. And I was like,
I'd be really interested to know if Edgar Wright saw this film and there was a bit of a Scott Pilgrim versus the World inspiration, because the way that it's edited and the way that it's shot with the really like almost comic book style or like cartoon style was quite reminiscent of that.
So for probably the first a good 30 minutes of the movie, I was thinking, it's slapstick and weird, and I don't know what's happening, right? And the mom was way over the top, and it was a bit whatever. As soon as they started driving to Detroit,
yes,
and pretty much as soon as Natasha Lyonne arrived on the scene, I completely changed my mind, and I realized, oh right, this is something different. It's not a slapstick comedy, but it doesn't take itself too seriously, but it does things that I'm not expecting. Like you said, when they decide to beat each other up, that moment, I was laughing so hard. I was like, it felt like that scene in Anchorman, right? Where like it instantly turned from one thing to another thing. And that's really funny. When movies do that, it's really funny. It's never going to be critically acclaimed, but like it did some unexpected things, and I thought it was really good.
Yeah. I finally cottoned on to your agenda here.
What's that?
You're making us watch loads of films about music.
What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about.
What do you mean?
Hey, She's All That is not about music. Okay. Fact.
Yeah, no.
But
that's about
many of them are.
Spring Break.
Spring Break!
Spring Break!
Yeah, I like movies about music. So sue me. Big deal. Don't sue me, though. I don't have a lawyer. I've not got capital to cover something like that.
I don't have enough understanding of how to sue you, so don't even worry about it. So a lot of the music in this, I was actually really familiar with. In fact, I'm pretty sure I knew basically every song on this film.
Interesting.
Which is quite unusual for me, I think, I don't think with any of these films I've had that. But yeah, I knew basically all of them. Part of the reason for that is because of video games.
What? What? What are you talking about?
So obviously, as you know, I play a lot of video games.
I'm aware.
Around the same era as that television show I was talking about, there was a game that was really popular called Guitar Hero.
Oh yeah, I played Guitar Hero.
You played it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we had Guitar Hero 2, which had a lot of these songs on it and a lot of similar songs. Yeah. And like the final level was Freebird, and it was awesome.
Oh, no.
But yeah, cool. So we that was what introduced me and my brother to this kind of music. We would just rock out on Guitar Hero for hours, and then I got really into this. So
here's what I want to say about that. I mean, that's interesting. First of all, I love it. I love it when like you and I both have the same cultural understanding. Like we understand the thing we're talking about,
but from totally different ways.
Places. like I knew all the songs in this movie because they were just on the radio.
Yeah.
Because I've been, because I like music from the 70s, and like there's not a single track I didn't know. But I will say this, okay? Hey guys, hey y'all, this is a movie about Kiss, right? It's called Detroit Rock City. It's about Kiss. The soundtrack had 15 songs on it, and only 3 of them were Kiss songs.
Well, I feel like it. I imagine that was some movie executive sitting in the room going like, guys, you can't have every song by Kiss. Everyone's gonna hate this movie if you do that. But like, it's too obvious,
maybe. I mean, it's definitely not expected. But like, if I went to see a movie about, I don't know, Wings. Only the band the Beatles could have been. I'd expect there to be at least a few friggin' Wings songs in it, right?
But instead, we get an extract of the Carmina Burana by Carl Orff. But that was so good, though. That was during the fight, wasn't it?
Yeah. That was solid. I mean, that actually was very good, right?
Yeah.
But I was just I was surprised by that because I don't know. I was expecting to hear more Kiss.
Yeah.
But having said that, I and again, the only other thing I didn't super love was like, so they played like, The Boys Are Back in Town. Okay. So The Boys Are Back in Town is an amazing Thin Lizzy song. It's awesome. But they had some weird cover by Everclear. It was an Everclear version of The Boys Are Back in Town.
Right.
And I didn't like that. I didn't like hearing Pantera do Cat Scratch Fever.
It's like if you're watching a film about, it's like if I was watching a film about ABBA and then there was a cover of Dancing Queen by
the Bare Naked Ladies.
Yeah, it's like, I can appreciate it, but I'm not here for this right now. I'm here for something different. Yeah.
The chicken of China, the Chinese chicken, Dancing Queen. Hey, hey. Speaking of ABBA.
Yes.
How much do you know about disco music?
Disco. I know I like it. I know it's awesome.
And when did you discover that you like disco music?
Today, when I watched this film. No, I had a suspicion. I've had a suspicion for a while.
Yeah.
It's all bops. It's back.
It's
back.
Bops.
It's all back. It's in the charts.
Totally.
Right now.
Totally. I could go on and on and on about disco and where it came from and why it's relevant and where it ultimately stopped but then came back. So I'm going to. I want to say a few things about disco, because I think disco's really important. Do you know how to distinguish if it's a disco song, first and foremost?
Is it to do with the rhythm?
Totally. Yes.
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
Yeah. So here's
do I get a music point?
You literally just got a gold star, right? A musical gold star. You're gonna go platinum before you know it. So so disco music can be, I think, generally determined. You can tell it's a disco song because of the rhythm of the song, specifically the drums. You can always tell a disco song by the drums. Disco songs use the 4 on the floor model of drumming. Are you familiar with that?
I'm familiar, yes.
Right. And it's not
I'm a fan.
You're
I'm
a fan
of that
right?
work.
It's just bing, 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 ding, 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 right? And the reason why you're always on the 4 on the floor is so you know how to dance, because people dance to disco music. Disco music is made to dance to, right?
Yes.
So disco music more or less was around in the 70s. It came about in the early 70s, and many people will tell you that it died in 1979. That's important for this movie because this movie was set in 1978, right? During the height of disco, during the biggest part of disco was in 1978, and then by the end of 1979, people will tell you that it was kind of over. Disco music came about in the 70s, more or less evolved from a couple of different genres of music, Latin music and funk music, and it sort of became a style in the early 70s that was intensely focused on danceable music. But the importance of disco, really, and the thing I wanted to say is, it was important in America, specifically in New York City in the 70s, because disco music was music made by and for predominantly ethnic minorities and gay folks in New York in the 70s. And it was music to go and just dance to, right?
Yes.
In these amazing, over the top, wonderful dance nights in these underground illegal gay clubs in New York. And don't you just want to go dance there right now?
1,000,000%. Oh, what I would give.
And sort of culminating in Studio 54 and this opulence and decadence and all night dance parties, and it's just it's so cool. And the thing that is unfortunate about disco, and which is actually unfortunate about a lot of musical history, is that what started out as a music from one group was appropriated by another group. And so disco went from being underground club music to being so mainstream that it lost what it was about, right? And it became the sound of the 70s, but by definition, it just sort of became ubiquitous and people started hating it. So there's this moment when Christine, she's, they're driving to Detroit. She goes, disco is amazing. Everybody loves disco. Even Kiss is going to end up doing a disco song. And they're like, no, Kiss would never do a disco song. That sucks. Disco sucks. Everything that sucks. That was 1978, and then in 1979, they came out with a disco song. Right, because everybody did. That song is I was made for loving you, baby. You were made for loving me.
That's a bop.
Right? But everybody did disco. Rod Stewart. Yeah, if you want my body and you think I'm sexy. Right?
Yeah.
The Rolling Stones did a disco song. The Grateful Dead did a disco song.
What?
Blondie did a disco song.
What?
Wings did a disco song.
What?
The Kinks did a disco song.
What?
And that was the minute you knew disco's dead. It all culminated in July of 1979 in Illinois, so real close to where we are in this movie in Detroit. So we're in the same sort of area of the U.S. A radio DJ in Chicago, this guy called Steve Dahl, he was trying to get people to come out and see the Chicago White Sox, which is a baseball team that at the time nobody cared about, apparently. Attendance was really low, and so he said, he basically did this PR stunt that said, disco sucks, because he hated disco, and he said, if you come out and bring a disco record, we're gonna burn all the disco records, and they called it Disco Demolition Night. They thought maybe a good chunk of people might come out. They were hoping for maybe 20,000 people to show up, but apparently like over 70,000 people showed up with disco records. And then,
oh my God,
it just turned into this huge riot. And people started like throwing records, and people were getting hurt, and it was a whole thing. They had to like postpone the game for a while because they didn't know what was going to happen. Bottom line is, that was the moment that everyone knew that disco was over and disco sucks. And
damn, I had no knowledge of that at all. That's just insane. I mean, and it's like, it's so sad that something that so many people got so much joy from and felt like it had a very kind of clear cultural identity was destroyed by some dude who just kind of went against it. It's interesting because, in fact, to just try and tie it back briefly into the movie, which we've barely talked about, but that's fine. There's not much to say about it, to be honest.
So people go to a Kiss concert.
Whatever.
The end.
Yeah, the end. But like, it does feel like there are definitely some kind of like racial, gender, cultural issues in here as well. Like, this film is about 4 white dudes, and it's just very interesting to me that well it's about entirely white people, but it's about specifically these 4 white teenage boys. The amount of cultural exposure and focus that particular brand of human was getting in the 90s. So, and I mean, like, we've talked about how strongly you identified with all of these films, and it's like, well, it's because they're all being made for you and to explore your experience, right? It's like, how many different ways can we explore the white male psyche? And
Turns out a lot of ways.
A lot of ways, yeah. And it's interesting because like a lot of stuff, like, to be honest, like particularly rock and roll has always kind of seemed to me as a way for white men to defy other white men. And like, punk as well. I think there's elements of that as well. And I'm not condemning it at all. I'm saying that it's just because of the way that there has been this ability to only focus on a very, very slim portion of society in media. You get this narrative that like, oh yeah, there's these guys and they're all rebels. But actually the real rebels were in a completely different section of society that was not being exposed to media, that was not being talked about, that was not being exposed. And you had all these amazing stories and all these amazing cultures and places that just weren't getting talked about. Like, I mean, if you watch like Paris is Burning or anything like that, like learning about ballroom culture and all these different amazing structures that have existed that just haven't been talked about. But it kind of reminds me of the way that, you know, what you were saying about disco essentially being smothered. The way that so many cool cultural things have been extinguished.
If you want to hear the ultimate like significance of cultural appropriation when it comes to disco, listen to songs like Disco Duck, okay, and some of the later disco tunes that were just bad. I mean, you know, you take music that was written by ethnic minorities in America, written for cultures that were represented and not understood then. At the beginning of the 70s and by the end of the 70s, the icon of that musical style was the Bee Gees. Right? 4 white guys from the Isle of Man.
Yeah.
Okay, that is
literally.
I know, you know, we like the Isle of Man. It's fine.
Just had to get that in there.
But that is literally just worlds away. From where it started and its significance, and that's just that really it makes me sad to see that play over and over and over.
You and I will never kind of fully appreciate, I guess, the tragedy of like having something that you've created and nurtured taken away from you, but I think we can certainly say that it's just a thing that happens again and again, and it's super sucky, and we need to do better.
I agree. Come on, people, stop taking stuff that's not yours, y'all. Come up with your own music.
Totally.
Just pick up the guitar and figure out how to make your own sound, okay? You know that new sound you've been looking for? Listen to this. What are you listening to? It's whatever's in your heart, but it's not what's in somebody else's culture. You prick.
And you know what? You.
Yeah, and also while we're at it, go yourself.
Go yourself.
Yeah, definitely go yourself. Hey, we know there's lots of podcasts out there. You might say that there's a whole lot of podcasts out in the sea. As a fisher, it's a fish reference. But we wanted to say thanks for listening to our podcast. And if you like us, we'd love it if you could like us on our social media channels as well. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook @PlotTwistersPod. And hey, if you've ever caught a really big fish, we want to hear about it.
I was made for loving you.
You were made by loving me. Avenue, baby.
Hey, this podcast is not a film podcast anymore. This is a Kiss podcast.
Kiss only.
What would our Kiss band be called if we were a Kiss tribute band?
It would be called SNOG. With an S. That's actually a good name for a British cover band of Kiss. SNOG.
Someone must have done that, surely.
I'm going to Google it. Hang on. I'm going to Google it right now.
SNOG.
Kiss tribute band. If it is, I would be so happy. Oh my God.
Is it?
SNOG, the Kiss tribute band.
Yes.
Okay, so.
Tell me about SNOG.
Okay. Oh my God, look at their faces. It's Kiss, but SNOG. They're British. Okay. SNOG are a leading Kiss tribute band based in London, UK. What started out as a charity gig at London's famous 100 Club has evolved into an epic live rock and roll experience, playing packed shows at some of the UK's best venues.
Post-lockdown, we're going to see them, for sure.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Our versions of Paul, Gene, Ace, and Peter are authentic and reflect each of their unique stage characters. You'll leave singing fist-pumping anthems and rocking that air guitar with your tongue hanging out, just like Gene. Remember, if you can't kiss, then SNOG. Oh my God, I'm such a big fan of SNOG.
I think it needs to be more like, if you can't kiss, then SNOG.
If you can't kiss, then SNOG, my darling.
SNOG, my idiot. Peck on the cheek, yeah? Our first plot twisters meetup is going to be at the Moon Tower Bar in Pennsylvania. Our second meetup is going to be at a SNOG concert in London.
I love it.
It's gonna be awesome.
But you know, listen, thinking about the twist. This movie's about a Kiss tribute band. They're a Kiss cover band. Right?
Yep, they are. Yeah.
And you know what I didn't like is that after the first 5 minutes, they don't mention that they're in a band. And quite frankly, this movie's about a band who love another band and they want to go see the band. So in the twist, could we maybe make them play instruments?
Oh my God, yeah. No, we could. Wait. No. Okay. When we initially see the band in this movie, the tribute band Mystery.
SNOG is a better name.
Mystery. SNOG is a better name. What's Mystery got to do with Kiss? I suppose it has the is in it, but anyway. It's not important right now. What is important is that they sound bad.
Yes, they sound bad.
They should sound good instead.
They should be a flippin' awesome Kiss cover band.
Can they be girls?
Why not? They can be girls. That's fine. Yes. That's better than fine. That's what's happening in the movie. They're a Kiss cover band. They're called Mystery because
girls. And the movie is the same. It's the same. Except there's a few moments in which you get the whole like, you can't be into rock and roll because you're just stupid girl thing.
Stupid girls. Why don't you like disco?
Yeah, when the disco people turn up, they're not like, we love disco and you're stupid. They're like, you should be with us. You should be friends with us because disco is cool and disco is a thing that women can like.
Don't you like Donna Summer and ABBA? You should hang out with us.
You should hang out with us. And Natasha Lyonne is still there, but it's more that she's just like...
Well, she's in the band. I'd really like it if Natasha Lyonne is actually in fact.
Yeah, she's the lead character. Who are the other three going to be? Who are we going to cast?
If one of the three named women from the 90s is not in this movie, I'm actually out. So who's the best of those three to be in a Kiss cover band?
Who could do that out of Sarah Michelle Gellar, Jennifer Love Hewitt, and Melissa Joan Hart? I kind of want to say Melissa.
Yeah, and I think you're probably onto something because she's got the confidence of a Gene Simmons. You know,
Melissa hasn't been around for a while. We focused a lot on Jennifer and Sarah. Let's have Melissa.
Yeah.
Who else? Who are our other two actresses to take these other two spots?
I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Rachel Lee Cook and she's the cat and she's on the drums. Okay.
All right. Yep. No. And I would like to give our last slot to Alison Hannigan.
Ooh, good pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm into that. I'm so
I think she'd be great. I think she'd be really good.
We know she knows how to play the flute. Maybe she knows how to play the bass guitar. You know what I'm saying? She's Gene Simmons.
She knows how to play the flute.
So maybe she knows how to, like, you know, she's been in band camp. She's going to rock camp. Right.
Amazing. Yes. No, I love this. So it's this four women. The movie is the same. Like, it's the same.
Is Chongo still in the movie? Okay.
Chongo is still in it. People
want to know. Chongo's still in it. And so does he beat up Melissa Joan Hart in a back alley outside of a 7-Eleven? It's fine. That happens. It's canon. Chongo's in it. It's in it. Okay, sorry. They're at the concert.
When we make t-shirts, the merch for this episode,
yes,
would you rather have mystery t-shirts or would you rather have ones that say, is Chongo still in this movie?
Can I suggest both?
Both. Yeah. And maybe one that says disco isn't dead.
Exactly.
I brought it back. We're bringing it back.
And all of that's on the t-shirt. It's actually a hot mess and it's in 5 different fonts.
It's a big t-shirt. It's more of like a t-shirt dress. Yeah, 5 different fonts, different font sizes, different orientations.
Yeah, exactly.
But like primarily focused on like the left shoulder.
Can I just say, actually, that's probably a good idea in a weird way. So you know how people read books before they go to sleep? And how people also wear sometimes oversized t-shirts to sleep in? So here's what I'm thinking.
This This is the most ridiculous logic puzzle I've ever heard in my life.
It makes total sense.
Okay.
The text is printed in glow in the dark, upside down, right? So this solved the problem you were thinking. It's dark. Nope, it's glow in the dark. And then on the shirt, you just have a couple of like really solid stories.
You get into bed and you just go, time for my bedtime reading, and you unravel your shirt and it says,
once upon a time there were 4 rockin' girls who really wanted to meet Kiss, and so they formed a band called Kisstory.
Yeah. We're kind of steering towards this isn't a film, it's a t-shirt.
It's a t-shirt subscription, right? And every month you get a new shirt, and that's the next episode, and you learn it as you go.
Yeah.
And so no, this is fine.
This is fine.
The movie it's not a movie, it's a subscription t-shirt service. And each month you get a new shirt, and on the new shirt is the next part of the film.
Yes.
Right? So by the end of the year, you have 12 episodes.
You're going to like work or school or whatever.
Yeah.
And every day you're going and you're wearing a t-shirt, and people go, oh, hey, cool t-shirt. And you're like, oh, thanks.
Yeah.
And then every time they see you're wearing a different t-shirt that tells a story. And as you go through, they kind of eventually they come in, and then and you're wearing the final t-shirt, and they go, oh, wait, stop. Hey, nice to see you. Can you just stop for a sec? Because I need to.
Oh, that's what happened.
Cool. Yeah, it's a visual t-shirt experience. Wow.
Exactly.
This is the worst thing we've ever come up with.
Well, you say that, but I mean, listen, and the tagline is you can binge watch and you can binge wear this
season. But I mean that is great, but I do also think as a side project that could be a promotional venture for this exact film.
Yeah.
But it's women.
Yeah.
You know?
So just for the record, we're still going to do the t-shirt idea. The t-shirt idea is a great idea. It's definitely going to happen.
And sign up at plottwisterspod.com. Yep.
Exactly. Email us. We're going to get it'll be on the shop soon, and the t-shirts are oversized in the glow in the dark text, and each one tells you the next episode, and it's really a thing, and we're really doing it, and that's really happening. But also, we should probably also, just for fun, also twist the plot of the movie and make it a movie, and in the movie...
How about this? Kiss get like held up on the way to the show, and maybe the way that these 4 young women decide to get into the show is by pretending to be Kiss.
They
get mistaken for the band Kiss, and then they have to they end up having to go on as them.
So here's what happens. The disco guys that the girls throw the pizza on their car, and and they get in this whole fight.
Yeah.
So that causes a huge traffic jam, like a pile up. Nobody's injured seriously, but the highway is just blocked off for miles. The girls get through it, but everybody else is behind it. And in that traffic jam is the band Kiss. So they get to the concert, and you're right. They pretend to be Kiss to get into the concert because they don't have tickets, but then Kiss don't arrive, so they have to be Kiss.
So they're walking to the back, and they're like, oh, let's try and break in here, and they're doing funny walks, pretending to be Kiss. And then the manager's like, oh, there you guys are, what took you so long? Come on, get on stage quick. And they're like, wait, what? And they're kind of shooed onto the stage. And then there's and they're like, no, it's not us. And then there's just this massive surge of flames, and the crowd goes, ah! And then one of them picks up the guitar, and it's just like, we gotta do this.
But we're not Kiss. We're not Kiss. We're SNOG,
And all the kids in the crowd go, we don't care, just play. And then they play and it's awesome. And
It's
then at
awesome.
the end of the song, they turn around and they're like, oh my God. And they're like scuttling off the stage and they're like, wow, that was amazing. And then they bump into these four figures and they're like, ah. And it's the actual band Kiss. And they're like, you pretended to be us on stage. And they're like, yeah. They're like, you wore our makeup and played our instruments. And they're like, yeah.
Yeah.
And then Kiss are like, that
was
so
awesome.
rock and roll, dude. And they're like, yeah.
So then they come back and do an encore, and they're all like doubling up, right? And so like Alison Hannigan and Gene Simmons are like spraying fire out of their mouths. And it's all amazing. And they're doing like guitar solos back to back.
Yes. Yes.
I love that.
That's so good.
Yeah!
Yeah!
Are you ready to rate this movie?
All right.
So, Emma, on a scale of 1 to 5 magic mushroom pizzas, how many magic mushroom pizzas would you give the film Detroit Rock City? Wow.
I would like to give this movie 2 magic mushroom pizzas out of 5.
Okay.
Because it's not very good.
It's not very good. It's not a good movie.
It's not very good. Nah. But hey, it was fun. So I'm not gonna give it too low a score.
Cool.
But I mean, we've barely talked about it because it's just not.
What are you talking about? We talked in detail about it.
Yeah.
It's a cover band that go and see a band.
Yeah.
Band.
Yeah, but it was fun. I enjoyed it. Honestly, would recommend. Yeah, for sure. How about you?
I'm gonna give it 3 magic mushroom pizzas, and I'll tell you why. I used to think I loved this movie. Then I watched it and I thought, maybe I don't love this movie. But by the end of it, I thought, I kind of like this movie. It was fun. I learned a thing or two about Kiss, and, I thought it was kind of funny, especially the part where they beat each other up. And I also quite liked seeing your friend and mine, Natasha Lyonne, once again, because, it's 1999, so why not? So I will give it 3 mushroom pizzas.
All right.
Before we go, Emma, I'm going to ask you nicely.
Oh.
Can I have my drumsticks back?
Your drumsticks are the least of your worries, young man.
Oh, man. I want to rock. Screw you, Mom.
Screw you, Mom.
And look at me now, Dad.
Look at me now, Dad.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Plot Twisters.
Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Good night, Detroit.
Episode, you should just do a compilation of every time we go,
rock and roll!
All right!
All right!
All right!
Wow! Okay, done. I will. Oh my God, I'm such a big fan of SNOG.